Great. So as I said, I'm Sony Albright. I'm a longtime teacher and have spent a good amount of my career in Waldorf schools as an administrator and a teacher. So as many of you know, this curriculum was actually born in a Waldorf environment. So it very much has a lot of hallmarks that we think of, things that are really important to us in our classes and how we approach child development show up in this curriculum time and time again. So I'm joined here today with the founder of Civics, Diana Graber, and our esteemed colleague, Peter Kelly, who also has taught the curriculum. And many of you know from interactions with Peter just in getting your account set up or working through how do I get access and all of those things. So in the chat, I'll have Diana and Peter put the information. And if you have any questions, you want to know more, there's something you missed out on, you're just curious about your account, or you want to sign up for the first time, or any of those things, Peter's a great person to contact for any of the business side of things. And then you can also reach out to us at support@cybercivics.com for any other additional questions. If you want to set up a complimentary teacher training, we do a 30-minute complimentary teacher training for all subscribers schools and would love to visit with you. If you've got new folks in the mix, this is a great way to get them set up for the year. Did I miss anything, guys?
No, just if you have questions as you go along, I'll be keeping an eye on both the chat box and the Q&A box. And if it's appropriate, I'll interrupt Sony and ask for the question. So feel free to ask them as we go along. Otherwise, we'll save them for the end.
And then anything price related, if you had questions, you can send me a direct email and I'll put my info in the chat box. But yeah, I'll reply individually with pricing info.
Wonderful. Thank you both. So yeah, as Diana said, feel free to go ahead and pop those questions into the Q&A or into the chat at any time, and we will get to those for sure at some point during our conversation today. So our time plan is to cover all 4 of our levels in the next hour, and then the back 30 minutes of our time is for Q&A. So happy to answer any questions you have, those big things living in your classroom. We're all doing that. I'm currently in the classroom myself. So feel free to think about those things as they apply to you and how can we help. As Waldorf teachers do, I want to start out our time today with our CyberCivics verse. For those of you who don't bring this into your class when you teach CyberCivics, I highly recommend it. I've even done other variations of this where we've had our Spanish teacher translate it and bring that in Spanish. I've done it in ASL, which is my language. So there's lots of ways which you can bring this to students, and it really is such a great way to set the tone. So I'll read this for us. In this virtual age, let us sink our hands into what is real. In this age of light-speed communication, let's develop our inner voices. In this age of increasingly powerful machines, let's learn to use the incredible powers within. All right, so as you can imagine yourself opening up your classroom with that verse and thinking about getting started on what you're teaching for the year, we're going to go through the lessons today sequentially, and I want to share a little bit about what's new and also what's, quote, old. And by old, I mean we've got a lot of lessons that have really stood the test of time. Sometimes we adapt them, but they really are in here for very good reasons. So we scrub our curriculum every single year, go through every single lesson, and really think about what's relevant and what's needed, and then make those changes. But a lot of our lessons have been here since the inception of CyberCivics, which is pretty amazing when you think about how much technology has changed. So our first level that I want to talk about is the digital on-ramps. This is a level for 4th and 5th grade students. For those of you in Waldorf schools who haven't tried digital on-ramps, please reach out to us if you have questions. The way I explain this to our teachers mostly is that really we're looking at social emotional learning in this level, and all of our levels have some elements of that, but it's really heavily focused in this 4th and 5th grade year. You can teach it in 4th or 5th grade. You could do a mix of each, and I'll talk about some strategies that you can use to divide up the curriculum if you want to do that. All right, so here we are in the teacher platform. For those of you who have taught CyberCivics already, this is going to look familiar to you. This is how you log into everything and get access to all of your stuff. Don't forget that there are a ton of resources in here for you. If you've never taught cyber civics, you feel like, I don't know what I'm doing here, we try to prepare you as much as possible, both in bite-sized little bits of information in each lesson, but also some preview information that you can look at. So the Getting Started Guide, the course syllabus, I'll just click on one of these to give you an example. The course syllabus, for example, is going to give you a nice overview of every single lesson you're going to cover and what that might look like for your year, just talking about units. Those of you that are thinking that have the upper levels of cyber civics and are considering this is a great thing to take to your teacher council or your college of teachers to share a little bit more about what you might expect from this particular course. A new thing we've got this year is our values cards. So as I said, this is social emotional learning, and we've made these sort of trading cards for this level because it really is all about the values that we're trying to teach our students. And they're funny and cute and silly, and they can be used in many ways. I am going to try something this year with these value cards. When I see a student doing one of these things, I'm going to give them the cards and see how many they can collect. They're going to have a little space in their book to kind of put them into a little folder like you would baseball cards, and we'll see how many they collect throughout the year. So moving on to how the lessons are broken up. So every unit that we have is going to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. So this first unit in digital on-ramps is using values to guide you. As I said, really leaning into what the values are. In Waldorf schools, we do a lot of values projects and things like in some schools called the knighting ceremony, in some schools called the service ceremony. So in those types of things, having a really good understanding of what these values are is so critical. So this is a great way to support those things that are already happening in your classrooms and part of your regular curriculum. And so I want to just show you a couple of these. And we've got some fun ones in here, some values that you might not spend a ton of time thinking about or talking about. And one example is the value of tact. So I just want to take a moment to show you this video here.
Ugh, you like hopping? That's weird. You know, flying is the best way to get around. Saying this to my friend didn't show a lot of tact, did it? Now that I think about it, the way that I said it could have made my friend feel bad for liking a hop, and that's not what I meant. A more tactful approach might.
Okay, so that gives you an idea, right? We're talking about the value of tact. What an interesting thing to talk to fourth and fifth graders about. When I teach this lesson, just the very first time I taught it, I had worked with a teacher where I decided, oh, what I'm going to do is talk to that teacher ahead of time and tell them I'm going to, have kind of a pre-planned conversation with him. And he was wearing this wild vest that had all this patchwork on it. Waldorf teachers, you know what I'm talking about. And it was very colorful. It had lots of things. And so when he sat down at his desk and I was ready for my lesson and I went, "What are you wearing?" And I had kind of a wild look on my face and the kids were just really surprised by this. And it was a great way to introduce that lesson. Pretty much all these lessons have something similar that you could do to really get them interested in thinking. You can even plan it with students ahead of time. So here's an example of the tact lesson. You can see in all of our lessons, they're very turnkey. Everything from the prompt that you're going to ask at the beginning to going through every step of what you want to do to get through the lesson, discussion points included. And then you're going to get to an activity at the end. And the video is a great way to kind of launch the conversation, but the lesson also will tell you when to put the video in. Then you're going to get to an activity where the kids are really thinking about the things that you just talked about and having some opportunities to practice it. Now, one way that you can differentiate is all of our lessons are broken up into an online and an offline component. So you could do the offline component of TACT in fourth grade, and then in fifth grade, do the online component of TACT and kind of remind yourself what TACT is. There's a whole new video and a whole different set of lessons, but it just applies to the online space. So sort of similar, sort of different, but really jumping off on that same thing. So we'll just watch a second of this one.
In the physical world, if we forget to show tact, Usually, we see the impact of our forgetfulness right away. In the online world, we don't often see or feel the impact of what we say or type because the reactions of those we interact with happen out of sight, way on the other side of another screen. We miss out on their facial expressions or tone of voice. Being tactful, telling the
All right, so pardon our audio quality. We've got a little tech glitch here as it is. So, but you get the idea, right? Kids are asked to look at these scenarios both online and offline, and that is so intentional. We really want them to see those worlds together, and actually us as adults, we need to see those worlds together because kids naturally do it. So these lessons, they go together, but they can also be separated. All right, so we've got all these values lessons in here that I mentioned and activities with each one. The format's going to look pretty similar with each one. Then we can go down and look at the next unit, getting ready to take flight. So this is much more about getting online and what that might look like. A great lesson in this section is it true or not? This really deals with misinformation. I'm not going to show this video because I want to show another one, but I am going to show you just a little snippet of this lesson plan. Diana reminded me that in some of the reading that she's been doing, actually, this is one of the things that kids actually believe. So we use this aliens example to kind of, be silly and talk about if you see something about aliens, do you believe in them? And what we're seeing is that actually young kids do believe those things. They're very susceptible to misinformation. So really getting them to think about things, everything that they look at with a critical lens. And this starts here and continues through all the levels that we teach. We really get deep into it as we move through the levels of civics. But what is great about this is you get some actual articles, and then the kids get a chance to evaluate it with a really simple checklist. All right, since we are Waldorf folks on here, I really want to take a look at this last couple of units. We've got you online. So this is much more about what it looks like for you to be online. And then online safety, which is an amazing unit full of helping kids have a lot of tools for using their head properly when they're online. And one of them, such a great lesson called, Are You Really Ready? This is such a big conversation in Waldorf schools, especially when we think about 4th and 5th grade, talking about media literacy and technology, and just really want to encourage you, teachers, to coach your parents. And if showing videos like these and kind of coaching them through what that might look like is helpful, because sometimes it can feel like I'm not going to talk about that right now because I don't think they're quite ready. And we know that they have a lot of access online, whether or not it's intentional. I mean, you pull up at the gas station and there's a video happening on there. You go to the grocery store and there's stuff. So it's really so ubiquitous. And this actually is a great way for us to be talking about kids about you. Are you ready, student? And I just want to take a moment to show you this.
people say having a cool device is awesome. But sometimes I wonder. A connected device is anything that connects to the internet. There are a lot of upsides to them too, since we can use them to learn, to search the questions we have, to play games, to stay in touch with family and friends, and so much more. But since these connected devices can
Okay, so you get the idea there. But really, the name of this level says it all. This is on-ramps. This is to coach our kids on to this digital world we know they're going to end up on without throwing them into the deep end, and in a way that helps them actually get the tools that they need to make good choices along the way. And this video really is a great sort of encapsulation of how this level operates. So let's move on to our next level. So this is level 1, traditionally taught in 6th grade. A lot of times, and again, I'll speak to the adaptations. Sometimes teachers are wanting to do 4th grade for on-ramps, 5th grade for level 1, or even split up level 1 into 5th and 6th grade. There's a lot of information in here, so you can easily do that. The best way to teach this, in my experience, is to have a weekly lesson time. 45 minutes to an hour is ideal, and to keep it regular. So as we looked at in digital on-ramps, you've got all of the things that you need in here. Every lesson is going to look a little different. On-ramps has the video and then the lesson as a download. In the levels 1, 2, and 3, you're going to see slightly different approach, having the lesson first, and then there's a slideshow. So that's one difference in the way that you would present those two lessons, or those two different levels. But we've still got the explainer for parents, which is an amazing resource. I think not a lot of teachers utilize these. And I can't tell you how helpful it is to have that home connection and to have parents also understanding what it is you're teaching. So strongly recommend to keep parents in the loop. You can even do parent meetings surrounding these, send this out ahead of time. It's easy for you, you've already got it, and then kind of go through what you're going to talk about. We've got the pre and post assessment for this level. You can give the pre-assessment in the beginning, post-assessment at the end. And anytime you want to share your pre and post-assessment results with me, I would love to hang on to those. So if you do it, please send them my way. Then we move into Unit 1, becoming a detective. So this is a theme that carries all the way through Cyber Civics, which is you are the investigator. It's your job to check it out. How do you do that? And this is how we sort of jump into that investigative hat and how we're looking at information. So let's start with looking at some of the lessons in here in Unit 2 on, let's see, actually. No, we're gonna look at Unit 3, but this is Unit 2 on citizenship. So another good point, something that we do really well at Cyber Civics is we set up the foundation. So before you can define cyber civics, before you can define digital citizenship, media literacy, you have to define those terms. Kids need really explicit instruction around them. And one of them is really talking about citizenship and what it means to be part of a group or a community. What are your roles? What are other people's roles? What are the expectations? All right, then moving on to digital reputation. And this is the one I want to take a look at. So we're going to look at digital background check. All right, so you can see the format inside these lessons. Here we've got the lesson plan all ready for you. I just want to take a moment to look at that top section where that's designed for teachers. That's your little educational moment. So you get this to educate yourself. What are you going to be teaching on that day? The prep is minimal with these lessons, and that is so intentional. It's really by design. So take advantage of what we've got in here, edit these every year, and make them more relevant, and take a look at all of the research that's going into these things so that you don't have to. So it's right there for you. All right, and then you can kind of go through the lesson. And what I want to actually show you is, this is the slideshow. So the slideshow's got all the lesson items in it, but this would be the thing that you would face with your students. So all the vocabulary will be located in here, and then the videos are embedded into this. So take a look at this one.
Have you ever heard this saying before? Your reputation precedes you. What is a reputation anyway? It is the judged opinion that people in general hold towards something or someone. So, if your reputation precedes you, that means that people will have probably heard things about you before they've even actually ever met you. These things could be positive or negative, or even true or false.
Okay, so the
interrupt you
video
for a
is easy to
second.
get. It's going to be a little bit long. You want to add on to that, Diana?
I'm just going to interrupt you for a second because it's killing me that I just wanted to say these videos have wonderful sound effects and music. For some reason, Zoom would not optimize for that. So I just want you to know that there's a little bit of that is really lovely to play for the children, is the music and the sound effects. So
yeah, they're very creative and cleverly done. My students have always commented on them. They've really evolved. So you can go through the slideshows, all of the information you need. You'll have your lesson plan with you to kind of guide you through the prompts and things like that. But all of the stuff that you need is here. So then you get to this slide, and this is in every slide pack. You get to the activity, and the students are going to, in this one, for example, imagine that they're college admissions officers. So we are thinking about our digital reputations, and their job is to decide which of these two candidates are going to get this scholarship that they want. This is an important topic because, as we know, sorry, I want to back up on that. But as we know, this is a big deal. Kids actually do lose opportunities by having digital reputation that catches up with them and posting things online that they shouldn't post online. So this is a good reminder of that. And the students are going to get a whole bunch of assets for 2 separate candidates, and they're going to sift through them in groups and try to figure out, who is this person? What are they up to? So here we've got our first candidate, David, and tells you a little bit about some of the stuff that he's up to, an email that he wrote, and then we've got, some students hacked into a computer. Holy smokes, what's going on here? We've got a activist damaging art. My goodness, he's TPing a house. He skipped 3 classes. What's going on with this guy? So, and then we've got a chat that somebody found on him. So now all the kids are suspicious. They're collecting information. So then we move on to Sarah. And Sarah, too, has got some information to share with the admissions team. And then we're going to see what's going on with Sarah. Oh, it looks like she posts recipes online. She's putting something about skipping school. She said she's on the Honor Society, but is she? And someone's accusing her of taking their recipe, TikTok challenges that she posted to her account. She gets a 3-star review on her tutoring skills. So now the students are going to take all that information and try to figure out which of these is best. And as we often find out, they want to pick nobody. But this lesson is super layered. And we've got a cheat sheet for teachers on the lesson plan. So don't fret, you don't have to know it all. But the discussion is the important point. So why should they get it? Why shouldn't they get it? What did you find out? What didn't you find out? And what we start to learn is that actually it's not what you think. So they think, oh, her name wasn't on the honor roll on the website. And David Downing hacked into the school's computer. But actually, is that name correct? Could there be other Dave Downings? Could it be the same person? So many great questions to talk about, like why someone might perceive your reputation even if it's not there. Ultimately, the discussion is really the whole point of this, and this is where the magic comes in when it comes to working with kids on these. All right, so that's such a fun lesson. The kids love it. Next, we'll move looking at ethical thinking. So ethical thinking is a big theme through all of cyber civics. We've got all of these different lessons in here. Then we move to cyberbullying and digital drama. And I want to bring this one up because one of the great things about this is it gets everybody on the same page with the language that we use. Oftentimes, the word cyberbullying is put in place of the word digital drama, or they can be confused. And it's really important when we're talking about serious topics that we are all using the same language and it's appropriate. So here we've got our lesson plan. Again, for teachers, you've got your vocab, you've got the activity. It's very explicitly set up. And we bring this lesson in this grade because they need to be able to refer back to these vocabulary words all the way through their time. So here's the cyberbullying slide pack. And we're going to look at the difference between cyberbullying and digital drama. The students are going to have a couple of different videos. One of them explicitly describes cyberbullying. One of them describes digital drama. And I'm not going to show you those two, but they do a good job of outlining the definitions and then giving a very explicit example with students, which I love. The storytelling aspect of cyber civics is very much a Waldorf attribute. So then we get to the activity here, and what a great way for students to understand the nuance, right? So many of these things overlap and they aren't exactly black and white. And how can we categorize them? Well, understanding what those terms are is the first way that we do that. And then we can see that there's actually some times where it might be confusing. This is also a great lesson to give to parents, a wonderful parent night lesson. All right, so that one, and then I'll just mention this one. So not all of our lessons are serious in nature. My favorite lesson of the 6th grade year, if not all of the years, is called Myself, My Selfie. So this is a beautiful art lesson that we do where we teach kids about selfies. And ultimately, what is a selfie? Well, it's a self-portrait. And people have been making self-portraits for a long time, but even before digital tools were available. So they were just called self-portrait paintings or drawings. So here's some examples of student work. My heart just gets so big when I see these because so many of them are my own students. And then we go through with the students and take a look at these self-portraits and really think about what were those people trying to convey? And how is that the same as what's happening in Selfie today? So what is awesome about this is that this part, this is a slideshow for this lesson. The kids are going to see this, but what we did this year for you teachers was we have provided this amazing, it's kind of a cheat sheet, I guess I would say, where every artist has a little bio, so you can actually tell the students a little snippet about these people. It's so fascinating. My kids love this lesson, and we've grown it. It used to be a little bit shorter and smaller, just because it's just such an interesting lesson. So most Waldorf teachers really appreciate this opportunity to dive into that art world too. All right, so that is a little bit about level 1. Let's move on to level 2.
Sony, I'm just saying one thing about that lesson. When I taught myself my selfie, I always did it in collaboration with the art teacher. And
Nice.
like you said, we really expanded it because the kids actually created their artwork in their art class and then brought it back to their cyber civics class. And it was a really great way to collaborate.
Yeah, so many of our lessons are interdisciplinary, and this is a great example of a chance that you have to bring in another expert, someone else who really loves to, if you feel like it's not your wheelhouse, bring in someone else who does love that kind of stuff, because the information still applies. All right, so on to level 2, taking a look at some of the assets that we have here. Again, same thing, getting started. So what you can expect in this class, what you're going to see in here. These are excellent, just sort of like high-level overviews for those of us who are planning out the year and trying to be really intentional about what we're putting in there. We've got the teaching at home, the explainer for parents and guardians. Again, on back to school night, when you're thinking about what kind of stuff do I want my parents to have, give them a copy of this. Make sure that they know that this is what's happening in your classroom. By the way, putting this information out to parents is a bona fide retention tool. Not a lot of schools do enough media literacy training and teaching in their classes, and it is by far one of the most requested from parents. They want the support, they want the help, so we know that it works. It is definitely something that they are invested in, so make sure you're shouting it from the rooftops that you're teaching this in your class. All right, so then you've got the information literacy syllabus here. Again, same as the first level. So we've got a couple optional prep lessons here. One is device care and maintenance, and then the safe and responsible use of technology. If you are giving out Chromebooks to your students, or you've got iPads in the classroom, or you just want to have more clarity around rules for using these devices, we've got a video and a lesson for that. Can even have a little contract about it, but definitely rules that you can post in your class at any time, and also adapt as needed for your particular school. Okay, so now I want to look at Unit 1 here is learning balance. So as we almost start every year kind of taking a look at our own use and then using those data points throughout the year to remind ourselves, like, wait, how do I use my online tools the most? And then we move into online safety. So in this one, just online threats and scams is sort of a smaller section in here because we actually get into quite a bit of safety when we start thinking about privacy and security. And then Unit 3 is on searching the web. So, wow, you must be saying to yourself, gee, that seems like a lot of lessons on searching the web. Is that still relevant? Yes, it is still relevant. So I want to show you this lesson here called How Does Search Work? This is one of our older lessons, as I mentioned, something that's really stuck with us all these years. But we've now made quite a few big changes to it. And those of you who teach cyber civics know, right? Search has changed a ton lately, and that is due to AI and all of the differences that we have there. I saw a statistic recently because of the AI overview at the top. Google sees about 30% less clicks onto their links. And that came out back in May. And then just this week, I saw Google say, no, but it's not affecting anybody's ad revenue or marketing or anything. So this type of conversation is exactly what I would be bringing up to my students in class to talk about, like, why would Google say that? What's happening there? What's going on with why would this statistic be here, but some company saying something else? And why would people not click on that? Why are people just reading the AI overview? Wait, should they be? These are awesome, great ways for kids to, because it's happening in their real life. It makes so much sense to them. So here's the slideshow for how to search work. And as I mentioned in the lessons, just want to remind you, your lesson plan is here. You've got to click to the Google Slides here. If you want the standalone video, you can click here for that. And then in here, you've got your couple of downloads, and these are in every lesson. So you've got your lesson plan download or your student packet. The student packet is just the work aspects that your kids would need. And if you use Google Classroom or Canva or some other online platform, you can upload these in there for students to do. The other thing I will mention is having this student packet standalone is amazing if you've got kids who are gone, kids who are out sick during your lessons, and you just need them to be able to access the slideshow, which you can easily send to them, and then also send them the student packet. So it's just a really quick and simple way for you to have makeup work be done. And then in terms of accessibility in your class, if you have students who need help note taking or some of those other things, I just want to show you in the end of every lesson that we have vocabulary, we've got terms to know, and our vocabulary is listed here. And for my kids who need additional help, I give them these vocab words like this and have them take notes on this paper if they need, but have it sort of to follow along. And I, for some of them, have them highlight it once I've covered that particular note in class. So lots of different ways that you can do that. So in this How Search Works, we're looking at what is search, and just show you a little bit about this video here.
If you've ever had a question, chances are you've turned to the internet for an answer. Search has changed a lot over the years and has especially changed recently, what with the introduction of a little something called artificial intelligence, or AI. You've probably seen this term a lot lately. Nowadays, when you enter a query into a search engine, one of the first things you're likely to see is an AI summary at the very top of the search results.
Okay, no surprise to anyone, but it goes in a little further about what else do you need to know about how to do a proper search. And as kids will find out later, we don't actually want them relying on the AI overview. We want them to do more digging. So this is where that detective work comes into play, and you're going to hear us use those terms all the way through this level as well. And so teaching them how to do good search skills and all of these sort of prompts along the way are ways in which we teach them to do that. So they're going to get to their activity and use their keywords. And then we're going to give them an activity on using keywords that they will be able to do on their own. This is a super fun game. So it's kind of like that game Headbands, where they get a term and then they put it on their head and the other person has to describe it to them without using the terms from that word. So if it's paperclip, they can't use paper or clip. They have to come up with another way to describe that. All right, so the next one I want to look at, so that is our searching the web unit, and then we get into AI literacy. So AI literacy is all new this year. This is the unit everyone has been asking for, but honestly, we actually put AI information into almost every lesson. So about 70% of our lessons were updated this year, largely because of AI. So this isn't actually, you know, the only place you're going to find that. Everywhere you look in our lessons right now is going to have a lot of information on AI. So we're going to look at this one right here, which is algorithms are everywhere. So again, you've got your lesson plan here. Introducing this lesson is mostly talking about like, what is an algorithm? How do I understand this? What do I need to know about that? And then let's take a look at this slideshow. So the algorithms are everywhere. Activity is super fun. The kids love this, and I've even done this at the high school level. So what they do is they try to create an algorithm by making a paper airplane. But what we know of algorithms is that they actually are a set of instructions. And that's the same thing that you would need in order to construct this paper airplane. So kids are told to make their paper airplane, write down their instructions. I have them do this in groups. And then they're going to share those instructions with someone else and see if they can reproduce that paper airplane. Let me just tell you, we learn a lot about clear instructions and also paper airplanes. I usually bring a prize, and the paper airplane that goes the farthest is the winner in this case. But this is a great example of the human touch on technology and why we need to be taking a look at what these algorithms contain, because they actually do create instructions that impact us. So all of that is, food for thought as we talk about algorithms and AI.
Sonia, can I interrupt you for just a second?
Yeah.
So do me a favor, go to the artificial intelligence lesson, the next one.
Yep.
We just got a question. Skip this. My phone is talking to me. AI at work. So Kara asked a question. If you could go to the overview page that the teachers see that shows the Google Slides link. No, on the same lesson, just go to the.
No, hit the detail tab.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry.
AI.
12, yeah.
There.
Okay, so what I wanted, Kara asked that she likes to have the links.
Here, go back, Sony.
If you go back to the details page, and she said that the video links aren't always embedded in the PDF files, which would be helpful. I don't use the slides, but I do screen the videos in class. Not all the video links in the lesson overview pages and need to be retrieved from the slides. So Kara, just to answer your question, there's 2 places where we put the video links, and we always put them in the summary page here. They should all be there. If there's a lesson we missed, please tell us, but I think we put them in every one where there is a video. And then we also put the links in the send home parent letters. So that's the easy place to retrieve them. That parent letter that says family activities at the top of every unit, that has the links to all the videos in them as well. So that might be an easy way for you to retrieve them. Teachers that don't use the slides, if you wanted to download that family activities letter, you would have those links in front of you. Honestly, we don't publish it in a whole lot of places because that's, it's proprietary to the curriculum, but we do put it in those 2 places. So hopefully that's helpful.
Thanks, Diana. And please let us know if you are missing one or something seems like you can't find it. But if you can see my pointer right here, this is generally the place where you should be able to see that link. And then as Diana was saying, also in the packets.
No, it's in the family activity letter at the beginning of the unit.
Yes.
That thing, yes.
So you can see the links in here. I'll make that a little bigger. So you can see the links in here for the different videos. And this one too, if you download this one, you can actually input the dates that you plan, or I do a general one, like I'll usually put the month just in case they got bumped around. But you can put the dates in there as you send those home to families, and then they will have the links to do that. And if you've got a communication platform, an online communication platform for parents, what a great opportunity for them to be able to go back and look at those or have those resources at any time. Okay, so the next unit here is Unit 5, which is your personal information. So this is another one where we're really thinking about what are you giving out and what do people want it for. This is also an AI heavy Bit of information as it is now, since algorithms and AI have so much to do with tracking and personal information. All of these lessons, again, we went through and tried to think like, do we actually need to teach kids about passwords still? 100%, yes, we do. And we have lots of great, interesting activities for them to learn about those things through that. The last one, Unit 6, this is the funnest lesson of this level, and the kids just absolutely love it. Copyright, public domain, and fair use. There's some really funny stuff in here, like Dumb Starbucks, if you've never heard of that. And also some really interesting, because the kids are just, they love anything that has to do with what their world looks like. And that's music, movies, art, creating, books, right? All that stuff. And those are all the things that we're talking about in copyright. So it's a super fun lesson and has a lot of relevance to what they see on a regular basis. We talk about dances and Fortnite and video games and some great conversations in there. All right, so let's see. We're going to move on to level 3. So this is the level media literacy for positive participation that's typically taught in 8th grade. And again, you can see the interface is very similar. So teachers will see all of these things in here when they pop in. I'm going to take a look at a couple of these things here, the syllabus, for example. It's a little bigger. So this gives you just a general overview. If you send out a weekly blog to your parents and you don't want to send out this whole syllabus to your parents, this little snippet is a great way to just kind of tell them what you're up to, and it gives you the talking points without having to spend a lot of time thinking about it. Also, the core principles of media literacy education are in here. That's an amazing read if you're really hot on these topics like I am. There's a lot of great information and resources in there. Another pre and post assessment. And then we move into Unit 1 on participatory culture. So again, we're going to start out the year assessing our own use and figure out, what do I do? How am I using these tools and what am I doing with them? And this one is really about if you're consuming media or actively creating things with your media use. And that's a really interesting question. I share this story sometimes, thinking about teaching in a Waldorf school. When I first started teaching this program almost 15 years ago, I would say about 95% of my students in 8th grade were consumers almost completely, almost 100%. Any media that they used, it was consumption. And that had a lot to do with media policies at home. Parents were apprehensive about their kids doing things online. So the way that they access media was really just to consume it, watching something. And I actually think Waldorf schools have a great opportunity to change that, to be people that are on the forefront teaching kids how to be the creators with these tools instead of just the consumers. So there's some great conversations to be had in here. And take a look at one of my favorite lessons here. So this is called The Myth of Multitasking. I don't know if anybody in this webinar has experienced this, but kids today seem really distracted. They've got short attention spans, and my goodness, it's hard to get them to focus on things. I mean, when you're doing like Gregorian chants, right? They just are not quite as focused as they once were. So this multitasking and distractibility culture is what we're really trying to address in here. This idea that are we doing too many things at once, and what does that mean? So what the kids learn in here is really that we're actually talking about something called switch tasking, which is a time thief. It just takes time away from you to get back from one activity to the other. You really don't have the possibility to do more than one task at a time. One year I brought in a fighter pilot to talk about switch tasking and multitasking, because fighter pilots are one of very few careers of people who actually do have the ability to multitask. They have to, and that's one of the ways that they get into the cockpit at all. And she was fascinating. She shared a lot of really interesting insights and had to take several tests to find out if she could do it, because it's such a rarity. And the kids are so fascinated by that. they really think that they can do many things at once. This is a great precursor to those important conversations that all of us want to be having with our students on texting and driving, texting while you're walking down the street, like all of those moments of distractibility, doing homework or putting notifications off, all of those things. So this lesson is an amazing way for kids to kind of take a look at the time that they've already calculated. We've got some math in here, and I'll just take a moment to mention that all of our lessons have different standards associated with a wide range of subjects, and that goes from on-ramps all the way up through this third level. There's just many different ways to which our lessons can apply to your curriculum. So if you're trying to meet certain standards or have ELA time or have social studies time or whatever, there's lots of ways that you can apply these to those different subjects. So we're talking about multitasking. We're talking about what does it mean to try to do more than one thing at a time. And then we get to activity. I'm not going to show you this, but there is a selective attention test. If you ever want all your students to be watching something at the same time and literally have their full attention, this lesson is the place to go. They will be absolutely 100% because they're going to put a bunch of cups and a Hershey's Kiss underneath the cups and move them around, and the kids think they're so smart. So there's a lot of fun activities that happen with this. And then we have them do a great little test where they have to take timed, write down, I am a great multitasker, and then the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 20. And they do that separately first, and then they try to do it each letter and each number one at a time, and they see what their time difference is. So it's a great, really micro way to show them how much time it takes them to move back from one activity to another. Okay, so let's move on to calling on critical thinking. We are spending a lot of time talking about these critical thinking skills, and I know everyone says that, but our lessons really embed these 3 questions you can ask, these ways to look at information, like what's missing. All of those things are the critical skills that we want kids to have. So in analyzing this online information, and using the critical thinking skills, we give them actionable tools to do that. So here is analyzing information, and this is just want to pull up the slideshow here. So here's the lesson that teachers will have. You can see some great information in here on the top for you to kind of look at, and then launching into your discussion with your students. Again, here's the questions you're going to be asking. Who is behind this information? And I usually, when I'm teaching how to probe into this information, I'm asking them to give me as many examples as possible. So really, you can go pretty long with some of these, and I'll show you on the slideshow here. We've got several videos for each of these questions. I'm going to show you one of them here.
With the internet literally at our fingertips, it's easy for anyone to post anything, anywhere, online, at any time. It's much, much more difficult to tell what's true, what's sort of true, and what is completely, well, bonkers. That's why it's up to us to think like detectives, so that we don't get duped or completely misled online. Fortunately, researchers at the Stanford...
Okay, so you can see this is one of, as I said, several videos that explains the questions that we're using to think critically about every piece of information that comes our way. And we go back to this over and over again in many other lessons. So I want to mention here, in calling on critical thinking, we're going to analyze online information, and then we're going to analyze some websites, and then we're going to analyze generated AI information, or AI generated information that is either from a certain source, possibly the AI overview and the search that we already talked about, to something else, perhaps a prompt that a student put in, could be a video or something else that they saw, and want them to really take a look at it with this critical thinking eye, because it deserves the same type of scrutiny. And those are super important skills, because so often we think, well, if the computer, it's definitely going to know the right answer. And these are the ways in which we're teaching kids that they actually don't always know the right answer. And so we have several lessons to sort of back that up, but this is a great opportunity for them to practice that. And let's see, down here you can see we've got the prompt worksheet, the AI tool that we saw, and then the essential question. And for this one, I'm going to have students bring in examples. So I saw so many interesting memes last year and just like interesting AI generated, oh my goodness, videos. Some ones where I couldn't believe it. In fact, a student totally got me. They showed it to me and I said, there's no way that is real. You need to, fact check, trace it back, find out. What do you think? Sure enough, it was a real video. It was a super shocking, but it was actually a real video. And she was so proud to show me where it came from, how she found it, how she knew. And I didn't even have to prompt her on that. We had already talked about it in class, but I just kind of brushed it off like that's just too crazy. So it was a good reminder for me that before even I jump to those conclusions, I need to make sure that I'm doing my homework on here too. And I'm still glad my students wanted to prove me wrong in that case. All right. Unit 3 on misinformation. Wow, lots to do here. This is where we have some amazing conversations with students, and really the examples out there are kind of endless. There's lots of sites online that you can do fact checking on, and so I will constantly pull examples from some of those fact checking sites like Snopes and Fact Checker in order to make these conversations super relevant and rich with what's happening in the world today. So I'm going to look at this one, show you a little bit on this deepfake one. So in this one with AI and deepfakes, and this is exactly what I was talking to that student about, I just really thought that video had so many hallmarks of being fake. It was so sensational. And she was able to verify it and trace it back, and I even looked at it. But that is what students are used to seeing. Super sensational, outrageous things online. And deepfakes are a big part of that. So how does it affect the way people see news? How does it affect the way people understand information that's coming their way? So this one is really fun because, the photos and the pictures that we put in here are just so great. If I can find them on here, it might just be on the student. Well, for example, we take a look at the Tom Cruise deepfake, the guy that looks exactly like Tom Cruise and made videos doing kind of things with his mannerisms, very creepy. We take a look at some news videos that are AI generated.
And that one's really funny if you want to play it. That's new this year, the newscaster. I don't know if that'll play, but it's pretty funny.
I'll play that one.
In shocking news, J.K. Rowling's yacht sank with her on board after being attacked by orcas off the coast of Turkey.
So many kids thought that was real.
It's hard not to. And it's just so shocking to the kids, right? Like, and shocking things is one of the things that we're looking for when we're looking at that information. So I'll just return. I want to look at this last page here, but here's a good example of some of the things that we pull up where we're asking you to take a look with the student. Which one of these is real? Is either of these real? Or what's going on here? And they're reading a story too that goes with it. And so they're getting some information. They've got some links here. They're looking around, trying to figure out. And the questions that they're asking are tricky. It's hard to figure some of those things out. And what a great exercise in just really thinking about what it is you're reading and not just taking it. And in this generation of kids who literally will scroll on their phones and just double tap all the way down, which puts the like button into play, they're forwarding that information, even if it's not true, just by double tapping. It's making that algorithm tell somebody that it's bigger. And so every time students do that double tap, I'm telling them, have you thought about that? Have you taken a look and made sure that that's worthy of your of your double tap? So under the misinformation, we've also got super fun game. And there's quizzes in each of these units. So for the bigger kids here, the quiz, well, not in every unit, but most of them have a pretty substantial quiz. And I rely on those a lot for a variety of different assessment reasons. And one thing I'll tell you is I have a great technique with cyber civics. So I do have students take notes in their classes. And then when we have a test, I prepare them, tell them ahead of time that we're going to have a test and that they can use their notes. But they get the test and they have 5 minutes to look it over. And then I pause it. And I take the test and I give everybody 10 minutes to talk amongst themselves in case they have any discussion questions or don't know. And then I have them go back and take it on their own with their notes. So it just kind of takes the pressure out of it, but it also reinforces the whole point of what I'm trying to do in that class, which is make the discussion be the place where people are getting their information. All right, so then we move into stereotypes and media representation. This is another unit that kids love. They love thinking about how they're portrayed right now in the media. And then we move into visual literacy. I love this unit because Photoshop and what kids what kids see online. This one is called Don't Let That Photo Fool You. So talking about how you can put a bunch of photos together to create one and make a sensational image. Again, what is it about that is so shocking, right? We talk about a wide range of situations where photos have been manipulated in order to tell a different story. What is that story? Going back to those critical thinking questions again. Who's putting this information out? What's missing? What are they putting this out for? And then what do other people say about this author and this site? Here's another great one. So much food for thought in terms of discussion. I usually will have students bring in photos or examples of their own. One student told me this year that if you ever go to search for haircuts online, you cannot even find a real photo anymore. You can only find AI-generated photos of people for haircuts. And sure enough, like we did a in-class search on like what those photos are like. It really is so much AI generation and change in photos. And so those are the kind of things we're talking about in this lesson too. We also talk a little bit about food. We talk about body image when we're thinking about filters and how people portray themselves in pictures that they take and post. And then this leads me to our last unit, which, or I'm sorry, not our last unit, but our second to last one, Unit 6, Digital Health and Wellbeing. So this one is a really content heavy, but also super critical, very important lesson that's just dealing with relationships and how kids are together online. And this wellness unit talks about those big topics like sexting, revenge porn, sextortion, catfishing, a lot of online scams and things that we want kids to be aware of. And as a Waldorf school, I will just really encourage you to take a look at this unit and find out who you can partner with to provide these lessons. If you have somebody doing your reproduction unit with you, if you've got a nurse or a social worker doing some of these classes with you, as many Waldorf teachers do in the 8th grade sexual education unit, combine this with that. It's a great opportunity to be talking about the holistic big picture of relationships and health and wellness that has to do also tied in with sexuality and media and technology. So I want to talk about this one as an example of something that we talk about, stopping and spotting digital blackmail. This is a huge concern right now. And you can see up here on the top, Diana put some great information, but over 13,000 reports of financial sextortion targeting minors. This is mostly targeting males, and it has a high correlation with suicide. And so all of those things, we need to make sure we're talking about our students with it and letting them know that they're not the only ones that this has ever happened to. And if it happens to them, what are the things that they need to do? So these lessons give kids a lot of tools. It takes the shame out of reporting. It gives them an opportunity to, in advance, know that this is a possibility. We have a great video that goes with this one. I'm gonna pull that up here. Hope I didn't download that one. The video that goes with this one, which I did not put up, so I won't show it to you, but it gives an example of somebody who kind of gets ensnared into this friendship and thinks it's someone their age, and it turns out that it's not. And what red flags do we see in hindsight by looking at that great example? So as Waldorf schools do, the story tells so much more than just telling kids to be aware. The story gives them an example to look at and say, oh yeah, I could see how that could happen to me. And then the kids are asked to, from the video, go through and list the red flags. And as a class, when we talk about this, we can really make sure that we go through all of them and that we have a comprehensive idea of how to look out and protect ourselves from that. And then it also gives students tools to recognize what they can do to help a friend that might have something similar happen. Diana, did you want to add something on that?
Well, I will say it's so funny because we're going to send a newsletter out this week to the Waldorf teachers, and they will be getting that video. So you'll get to see it in the
good. That's perfect. So there's many other lessons in here. The sexting and online boundaries one is so great because most young people do not know that it's illegal in many states and actually punishable under child pornography laws to be sending, receiving, or creating sexting images under the age of 18. In addition, AI chatbots and real connections, that is the #1 use of chatbots right now, is for connection and kind of what they're calling pseudotherapy. Not only is that information not protected and completely unsafe, but we haven't tested it. We don't know what the long-term effects are on people relying on chatbots for friendship and companionship. So great conversations to be having with kids right now while these things are so relevant. And again, we've got the quiz that comes with that. So a lot of good information. You can make sure your kids have got that. Last unit, the power is in your hands. This is where we want them to end up. We want them to be powerful participators, people who are out in the world, again, not just consuming media, but using those digital tools to create and to make the world a better place. And there's several ways in which they can use their skills for good. So that's kind of how we end up the year. If you are going on an 8th grade trip and you've got a service component in your 8th grade trip, do these lessons before you go. The power of participation and how will you participate are great ways to be thinking about different things you can do while you're on that trip, or if you're looking to create a service component on your trip, you can do that in there as well. Okay, so that is bringing us to the end of our presentation portion. And now I just want to open it up for those of you that have questions, things you're thinking about. What are we seeing in the chat?
Well, there's no questions right now, but I did want to say you can raise a hand and I can allow you to speak if you would prefer to do it that way. So I'll keep an eye out if anybody wants to speak up and ask a question. Otherwise, I'll keep an eye out on both the Q&A box and the chat box. If you have any questions, any of the three of us will be happy to answer them.
Great. And I did want to mention too that on September 16th, and Stephanie Reines from OSNA is going to put this out, but on September 16th, we'll be doing a special presentation for any schools associated with OSNA that want to learn more about AI guidelines in the classroom. We do have some of those concepts embedded into our levels, but this is a new lesson that we're developing. It's going to be rolled out at that time. That's really just helping teachers create a code of conduct. What do we want kids to know about how they're using AI, and how does that impact the learning in your classroom? And there's many ways you can adapt it to make it sense for what you are teaching, to make it make sense for what you are teaching and what your school rules are too. So that'll be on September 16th. Did I get that right, Diana?
Yeah, 2 o'clock, I think. I just wanted to say, Sonia, when you were talking about having those 3 questions to analyze misinformation and how we see so much misinformation, as these 2 know, I'm leaving for a camping trip tomorrow, and a woman at the gym yesterday told me to be be really careful of bears, because she saw this thing on Instagram where bears were attacking cars in campgrounds. And so she showed me a video, and it was like in 2 seconds, that's AI.
The AI video.
Thought it was real, and it really scared her about going camping. So I went home, did the 3 questions, sent it to her saying, looked at the author, I looked at what other people were saying, and it's definitely AI. So even for adults, we get tricked, and it's nice to be able to help your friends, adult friends, know how to assess information and not be afraid of camping.
Yeah, I mean, giving these lessons to parents in your community, if you have parent night, you're not quite sure what to do, take one of these lessons and do one with your parents. They will absolutely love it. There are so many great choices, especially when you have success with your kids, you'll know it's just a fun one for them to do. But they too appreciate this knowledge, and those 3 questions are a great place to go. She probably didn't even know, the bear video lady, she probably didn't even know about those 3 questions, right? So.
She does now. All right, last chance. Any questions? Anything we didn't cover that you'd like to know, or you're welcome to reach out later at support@cybercivics.com. Peter will be manning that for the next couple of weeks. So anything else we can help you with today? We're going to stay for a few more minutes.
Diana, can you remind us what assets are going to be going out to folks? Oh, hi, Martha. I probably know everybody on this chat. I need to see who else is out there. Can you remind us what assets are going to be coming out to attendees? There's going to be a recording, a video recording.
Oh yeah. Okay. So what happens is if you registered for this tomorrow, you will get an email from Zoom, and it will have a link to the recording and also the lessons, a lesson from each level that Sony introduced to you, and your certificate of participation. So all of that will come to you tomorrow.
Great. And I put my email in the chat too. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. If you're struggling to implement the curriculum, which many of us are just time-wise, please reach out to us. We really want to help. We want to make it work for you. We want you to get your money's worth out of the curriculum. And there's so many ways that you can do that. So please reach out to me if you have any questions about implementation. In trying to teach this for 15 years now, I can tell you there are many ways to do it, and none of them are wrong. They all make sense for what you've got going at that time. So lots of different ways in which you can utilize the resources that we've got here for you.
And almost all of us here have taught it. So we've all have had different experiences in the classroom, which we'd love to share. So don't feel afraid to ask. Could you say your email out loud? I'm having trouble seeing it in the chat. So our general email is support@cybercivics.com. Sony's email is sony@cybercivics.com. Yeah, thank you for taking. And we love feedback too. We'd love to hear what your students think of the new AI lessons. Yeah, so feel free to shoot us any feedback. We'd love to hear it.
Please let us know if anything is missing. There's so much changing right now with AI. And that wellness unit that I mentioned, actually, for those of you that have a high school attached, that's a standalone unit. If you subscribe to level 3, you've already got it, it's yours. But if you just need health and wellness unit and you want something that's for high school, this is actually perfect. All high school kids should have access to this in their sex education and health classes. So please reach out to us. That's a standalone unit that can be purchased that way.
Yes, Kara, you're so right. Kara says AI-induced psychosis is a huge emergent issue for the health unit. So true. It's a big, I mean, that chatbot lesson is so timely. We did a lot of work in the chatbot area this summer. We did a whole separate webinar on that topic. And then all this research came out about how much kids are using chatbots, like for mental health and for support and for friendship. And then last week, OpenAI upgraded and people were freaking out because they missed their old chatbots. So it's a huge issue. And we're really excited to have that in the new unit. So we really hope that your schools will utilize it. And I did want to say, I know I answered Kara earlier, but there are things that we miss sometimes, links that we forgot to put in or that might be wrong. And so don't ever feel shy about letting us know, because it's with your help that we're able to fix those things.
Yeah, we love that feedback. The new curriculum has just been uploaded. So we edit like crazy. We've got Peter, our master micro editor, here on this call.
Actually, Peter got replaced this year. I have to.
We still miss things every once in a while. So
That
let
was
us
one
know.
excellent use of AI. Peter was so busy this year that I had to rely not on my English teacher friend, but on AI to help proofread some of the documents, and it actually did a pretty good job. So that was one excellent usage of the new tool. Sorry, Peter.
That's okay. And I
Did
feel
it
like
put a bunch of little hyphens into your?
Yeah.
it's all good. One thing I like about AI.
You know, that's funny because I ask it not to add those.
Yeah, smart. I always say no emojis, no hyphens.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you can see, we're using AI as well to really be able to write these lessons appropriately.
I don't use it to
Right.
write.
Any other questions, folks? Anything else? Now's your chance. You're trying to do something in your class. You have a question about how to apply it. You have a question about a specific topic that you really want to cover.
Well, great job, Sony. Once again, you guys will all be getting the recording tomorrow, and feel free to reach out anytime if there's any questions at all. So, all right. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See you later.